Hey, welcome to the Social 333 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bentley. Today, my guest is Jeremy Barker. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate
Awesome.
you, Chris.
Awesome. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jeremy Barker, and I'm the founder and CEO of Murphy Door, the world's largest hidden door and secret room company. We like to say that we deliver experiences into every room in your home. So we like to do speakeasies to pantries. It's just all up to you. Hidden rooms, panic rooms, bulletproof rooms, you name it, we got you.
I have a lot to talk about on this. So I got your information, and I was like, this is really interesting. So talk about your story a little bit. So you used to be a firefighter?
Yep. So I started my career in the Murphy Door world as a firefighter paramedic in Utah, up in a city named Roy, Utah. And loved the job. I didn't ever want to get out of the fire career, but didn't pay very well. So my net checks were like $762 every 2 weeks.
Wow.
And since I'm great with math, my house payment was $2,311, and it was short. I mean, 15 something, a little bit short.
Right.
So I had to work several jobs to get it done. And I in my early career, I built storage sheds and supplied all the Home Depots around the country.
Wow.
So I knew I wanted something that I could get back into big box retail. So I was in the process of remodeling, or finishing my basement. And it's a 10-year process for me. Some people can do it in a couple of weeks, but it was just budget based. And I wanted a theater room. And when I say theater room, I'm talking like a 4 fold-out chair firefighter budget theater room. So since I didn't have the cool theater rooms like all my neighbors in my rich area of neighborhood that I live in that was way outside of my pay scale, I wanted something that was unique for my kids to go through. So I couldn't have a great theater room, but I thought, what a way to get an experience through the doorway. So I thought of creating a ticket booth that would open. The little girls could hand their friend a ticket, and then they could open this cool theater ticket booth to get into the theater room. As I searched the internet, this is 2011, 2012, when I was trying to figure this out, and there wasn't anybody doing anything in like a production scale. So I thought, well, I'll just make it myself. And the hardware that I was using was like 3 hinges that you'd use on a normal door, because I thought that's what would make sense. And it would just rip the door off. The doors were too heavy. So then I thought a piano hinge, well, the same failure points happened. So I've had a couple patents in my past. Like I made the metal frames for all the shed doors that you see today. That was my first patent when I was a kid today, or it was 18 when I came up with that. So I thought, well, I'll do a pivot style hinge and could carry the weight at the bottom of the door and the top of the door. So I got that done, and I thought, well, you know what? I could make this hardware and sell hardware for hidden doors. Well, that wasn't really a marketplace back then. So we really, truly created the fad. There was nothing really out there. There wasn't freight categories or anything. So that blew up from a basement idea to now we build about 1 door every 6 minutes. So, and we have plants in Kentucky, and we have some in Utah, and we're in the process of putting one right now in Dallas. So we'll have one right here as well. So that's our 3rd location. The demand's been crazy. We've been in the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in the United States. This will be our 7th year in a row. So kind of crazy.
So I saw the numbers, and I was like, wow.
Right.
So let me take you a little bit back into my history. So I had I had a neighbor, right? And I guess the neighbor moved, right? But I had a neighbor, and they had a hidden door, and it was like all the way up to their wall. So it wasn't like a whole door. It was just kind of like the
wall pivoted.
Yeah. So like I would walk into the house, and it would be lines from the ceiling down to the floor. And when I first walked in, I think they like tried to hide it with like a rug or something. This is, I'm old. I'm 48, right? So they tried to hide it.
I wish
with
I was that young.
You are. You're 28, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I walked in, and I was like, why that? I was a young kid, right? So I was like, why in the world they got a rug laying on the wall, right? And then my mom was like, oh, they have like a hidden door behind the wall. And I didn't really understand it. So I was friends with the neighbor next door, and eventually, we're kind of playing, and kids are curious. And I was like, hey, like, what's the deal with that, pivoting wall thing? Like, there's a secret door. Like, what do you got back there? You got the good candy and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what do you got? Like, back then it was like G.I. Joes and Jedis and stuff, right? And I was like, oh, you got the cool Star Wars stuff back there? Like, we've been playing with the subpar stuff up front. Like, what do you got back there? And he's like, oh, no, they just use that for like storage and, stuff that they don't want anybody to see. And I was like, so like the garage stuff? And he was like, well, yeah, kind of. And I was like, no way. And, like as we progressed as friends, like eventually I got to see it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then I was just like, this doesn't make any sense to me. But I saw some stuff on social media where This thing is like really picking up. Like
Crazy. Yeah.
people are putting it in. I know a guy that does men's clothing, like upscale men's clothing, and like he does it. So he has like the room, like when you first walk into a showroom. I haven't seen it, but I just been watching it on social media. Like, and he'll have like the front room, and it looks like it's a library with a bunch of books, and then he'll push it, and like the door open, and it walks in, and you got ties and suits and fabrics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that's just like the tip of the iceberg with you.
It gets crazy. Like we do whatever you can think of. So we have a pretty good catalog online, but truly those are just basic starting points. From there, it's whatever you can imagine. So we'll build whatever you want to put on paper. We have full-scale engineers, mechanical design, research and development department. We can do whatever it is that you can think of. So we get as creative as your budget allows.
What's some of the stuff that you've like created that just
blows
top
my
of
mind?
mind? Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of them you can't talk about because we work with all I should say all the celebrities, but most of the celebrities these days.
That's my next question.
Yeah. So it's a really weird world that I live in today. It's like you're getting calls from people like, is that real? You know what I mean? You don't think it coming from the fire world. And most of them I can't talk about, unfortunately, but there's some that I know that I can. We just finished Damon John's art studio down in Miami.
Nice.
And that turned out freaking crazy, but he's got a great, vivid imagination. And when he reached out, it was another one. I'm like, is that really Damon? Like, so it was an odd space, but that thing turned out amazing. We've done a lot of these podcast style studios as well. And I think the hottest thing that we have going right now is between gun rooms is a really big thing. You know, they're making their gun rooms so they can hide their safes they'll have a safe wall and we'll put in some bookcases in front that'll move, or we do the pivoting wall systems as well. Is speakeasies are crazy. And then of course, red rooms are really big right now too.
Red rooms would be.
We used to be able to call them sex rooms, but P. Diddy ruined that, so now we have to call them red rooms. You know, so that's the new common term by designers anyway. But that's been a pretty big thing as well.
That's crazy. Do you have any crazy like celebrity stories where I don't know somebody went wild and crazy with something, or somebody just like flew off the top about something, like anything crazy?
No, they have some very vivid imaginations that we can go into, but it usually starts with one. So this is the funny part about our business. You'd think you'd only need one hidden door, but we do a hidden door system, but in addition, they find functionality in it. So we'll go in and we'll deliver one thing, and the next thing you know, they're just stacking and stacking. The thing that celebrities are doing a lot right now is a lot of cigar lounges are getting really, really popular for big hosts, big podcast hosts, TV people, radio people. There's a lot of man cave phases going on with musicians. Yeah. They're building their own big lounges and lobbies that they can have their guests come and visit. So we'll do the one, and the next thing you know, you're like, you think you can do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? The next thing you do, you're doing 13 projects over there. It's a lot of fun. What I love about our business is it's not just singular lane. Like we're not just doing, hey, you can choose from A to C or D. It's literally A, 1, 2, 3, whatever you can do. It's expansion. And our ideas a lot come from really creative consumers, right? They're like, can you do this? Or you know what would be fun? And then we start feeding into our mindset and adding that to our portfolio. So once we get that project engineered, it's much easier to kind of get it done. There's a lot of stuff that goes in it, though. You'd think it's just a bookcase that pivots, but I mean, our bookcases, our hinges are rated to carry 1,100 pounds. Wow. And keep in mind, this is a piece of furniture that has to carry 350 pounds. On top of that, you got some married couples. Sometimes they fight and these doors slam, right? So you got to take a big, heavy door, let it be slammed, make sure the stuff does its best not to fall off. In addition, last a lifetime because these things start, $1,000 to $100,000. Depending if you want it fully armored or more. You can spend more, of course. We've had some that got into the $500,000.
Wow.
But when I say $500,000, that's not the door. This is a full, wall library system that comes in and they want lighting and automation. They can open it with their fingerprint, their eyeball. What do you want to get in with and how do you want the room to be automated? You go as far as you want and we can make it very Iron Man-esque.
Wow, really?
So, oh yeah, that's a big thing. I don't know if you guys have you ever been to the John Wick experience in Las Vegas? Mm-mm. So that's an experience. They try to build it around the movie. We did it with Lionsgate and Egan Productions, and this whole studio. It's kind of an escape room style thing, but you're participating in the movie. It's an amazing, fun experience to do. So we worked with them to create that same John Wick style movie experience that has different components that move and open, so you can get your different actions that you'll see in the movie as well. So I don't want to ruin it for those that haven't been, because it's a must go. It's a great experience in Las Vegas if you're there at Area 15.
Talk to me about social media, because I can just imagine how much not only traffic you get, but like
1 billion organic views last year.
Wow.
1 billion.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Like, I never thought. So when I do not do very well at social media personally. When I got out, we were super lucky. And I don't know that I could replicate our growth that we've currently had. That makes it tough, because when we started, Facebook was still free and letting you get traffic fairly organically. So we started Murphy Door in December of 2012 as a company. First products were really being sold in 2013. And Facebook was pretty open about sharing it. And most of the stuff that we showed in Facebook early was CGI kind of created, like, here's a bookcase, let's make it look like a door for a Facebook post, because we didn't build much. I didn't have a budget to advertise, so most of the stuff was just bookcases that I made look like they were swinging open. And then we'd build whatever customers ordered, because I didn't have a better way. And we got to about 150,000 followers within our first year, which was really odd. And that was taking Pinterest bookcases, making them look like doors. And it kind of went a little bit viral that way. Oh, I guess what they'd call viral at this stage. And we got picked up. I was doing trade shows as you build up, and DIY ended up putting us on DIY I Want That show. And it kind of blew up from there. And it really just compounded. And now what I love about the opportunity that social media provides is the creativity we can get from our customers and letting them share their story with our products. And it's just kind of compounding. And we kind of have a cheat, right? In the hidden door world, or the hidden room world, or hidden wall world, or what hidden furniture components that we make. It's kind of hey, this is really cool. And it starts to open, and we hold you because you want to see what's on the back. We didn't really think about what's on the other side of that. You got to watch till the end, because you won't get to see what's on the back of it. So it's kind of an unfair. I didn't realize it was kind of like a magic show per se. And one of my buddies that's a producer, his name's Andy Shear, he goes, well, your guys, it's a complete not fair game. Everybody, you're hooking them from the very beginning. They see this thing and they're like, I wonder what they're hiding. So it causes its own virality in a sense if you do the videos right. And most of the time when our consumers are sharing their awesomeness that they've created, I mean, literally they design it, we build it. We're just their carpenters for their ideas. And so they have a lot of passion in it, and it really helps when they start to share that stuff. And
I want to take you back a little bit. So you're obviously, trying to make ends meet. You come up with a door, and that was pretty cool. Like, what kind of transpired after that? Did somebody see it and like they want some orders, and you did it? And then some other people saw their orders, and they kind of like...
That's exactly how it is. And I can actually use I think it was called Spring City, Texas. Is there a town called Spring City? I think so,
yeah.
So I think it's Spring City. But to give you an example, our first year in business, we only did $30,000, and that was just hinges. So my thought was, I can stay being a paramedic and a firefighter at this job I love, and I'll have this hardware produced by a metal manufacturer down the street. They'll package it, I'll ship it, and I can just make $100 a piece. And this will be a great side job to my fire career. Well, it ended up being pretty surprising. I mean, we had roughly 400 to 500% margins on our hardware when we started. It was a very simple hardware compared to what we have today. And it started to move, and I thought $30,000, shoot, I made an extra 20 some odd thousand dollars this year. This is great. I didn't take any of the money. I just wanted to build that business. I didn't pay myself for the first 5 years. So wow. I left till we got to $5 million in top line before I quit and started taking money out of the business. But early on, it started with hinges. Then people started saying, hey, I don't want to build my own bookcase door. I want you to build it. Well, I never really built cabinets for a living. I just did some rough rudimentary carpentry and rough framing I've done a lot of, but it's the different skill set, right? So we found a cabinet company to help us design a cabinet door system that would work. And unfortunately, these cabinet doors, like I said, they look like a cabinet, and most cabinet makers feel like they can make it. And it looks like you can make it, but there's so much engineering that it takes to get it done that my first 4,000 customers, like 1,000 or so, were really rough doors. And we had a lot of warranty and patient customers that let me work through all the failures that we had, because we had a lot when we first started. It took a lot to learn and get it right, but we did work through them all and replaced them all and kept our brand the same. But it took really customers that cared enough or had the patience enough to get there. So how we did it is we took these pictures of Pinterest doors or Pinterest bookcases, posted it, and we'd sell like, I remember when we sold the first door, I'm like, no way, somebody just paid. And they were much more expensive than they are today because we were hiring cabinet guys to do it. And I think the cheapest door we sold was like $3,500. So somebody has to really believe in something. Again, remember, this is 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not like what we see with Amazon today. Right. Internet purchases were a little bit more scary from some small Utah firefighter on a janky website that barely works, that doesn't really even build his bookcases, using fake camera pictures to make it look like they build bookcase doors. So now I'm asking you to give me $3,500 and think and believe that I can deliver it within the next month to 6 weeks. So those were some struggles, but thank goodness we had some people believe us. Thank goodness we got them delivered, and thank goodness they were patient through that piece. But we grew from 30,000 the first year, and we went to 150,000 the next year, and the next year we did 1.5 million, and the next year we did 2.7, and then we grew to almost 5, and that's when I left in 2016.
Talk to me about like the scaling process, because you're getting orders obviously left and right. You're getting social media stuff, and then obviously you're not sitting at home like
and working fire.
Right. And like, you're not sitting there with screws and nails at 12 midnight trying to like put some stuff together. Like,
there was some of those, lots of them, lots and lots. Like my wife almost left me at one point when she said, hey, you worked 560 hours last month and there's only 720 hours in a month. I didn't sign up for this. And she had it's a fair argument. Like I have, 3 kids at home, and she's like, where are you? What are you doing? Like, I don't care about money that much. And she truly doesn't care about money. So that's not what makes her tick. And I finally realized that, hey, I've got to figure this out. But I think when you try to build anything of scale or value, then hours don't really matter. And I've never been somebody that thinks about time. I think about the long-term payback, not the short-term work-life balance. I look at work-life balance more like on a scale of from the time I was born to the time I die, and what does my freedom look like in the back half of my life versus the compressed time when I can work the best. So to answer your question of those steps, it was really difficult to scale. And fortunately, we never used anybody else's money, like bank money or anything. I had an investor early, which was one of my neighbors at church, their authority there in Morgan, Utah, who believed in me enough to invest in my design and help me engineer the hinges and so forth. So we got about $24,000 to do that, get the patents, and do our first trade show where I'm trying to sell janky hinges. They were good hinges, but nobody wants to build a bookcase. So it was like peanut butter and no jelly kind of thing. So it was difficult in the sense of scale early, but I had cabinet guys that had scaled a little bit. So that was pretty easy to give them the work until we started to get busier. And then like, dude, I'm giving you a great deal, and we still have a cabinet business, and you guys are taking a lot of our workflow. You're going to have to look for a secondary vendor that can help as well. So we did that, and we found a great guy named Tyler. Gosh dang it, I slipped his mind. So anyway, at Trim Art. So he came in and helped us a ton, and Cordell. And then after that, we got too busy for them, and so we had to create a cabinet shop, and we didn't know how to do that. Again, CNCs and automation and edge banders and all the stuff. I'm like, well, I don't even have any idea how to turn these stupid things on. And now, we make 100% of everything we sell.
Nice.
So everything's made here in the United States. So from here, our hinges to the bed frames for our Murphy beds. I shouldn't say everything. We don't make the drawer slides and those kind of things. But when it comes to the hardwoods and the hardware that's unique to Murphy door and Murphy bed stuff, it's ours. So that is difficult when you're growing. Last year we grew, I don't know, $15, $20 million in top line. And you think about having to manufacture every piece. And when you're already buried and then you're trying to stack that much more work and workflow through your line, it's really difficult. And then you've got suppliers, you've got workers, and then you've got to keep filling the pipeline. So I think the ability to look forward and forecast well, I mean, you think about a manufacturing facility, you're ordering that equipment a year in advance. So, and this stuff is $5 to $10 million investments. So you're like, do I think or believe that we're going to still maintain this growth pattern and growth rate enough to commit my signature to that kind of liability? And you have to have a pulse of the business enough to say, yeah, I think we've got the workflow. I don't want to be like the standard state where they're building a 2-lane freeway, but by the time it's done, you should have a 4-lane freeway. So I'm trying to go to the 4-lane freeway with at least a little bit of calculation that will achieve that. So scale's pretty difficult at times, but I think if you have enough understanding of your numbers and your business and the market capacity and demand, you can have a better ability and transparency to what you should be truly building?
There's a lot there, and I'll try to get through all of it. We just had a great podcast earlier with two ladies that were talking about boundaries, right? They wrote a whole book about boundaries. And I was in a pretty toxic relationship recently, and I kind of really understand what you're talking about, where you just work because you have work to do.
Yeah.
And as guys, like, we have to provide, right? So, our
I think
spouse,
that's programmed in us.
Yeah.
Right. It's like part of us. It's genetic or it's something.
Right.
We want to protect and provide.
And our significant other sees us from the outside in. And usually if they're not involved in the business, then it can lead to like a lot of conflict. Which,
yeah.
And, and like I ran into that too, where you got somebody sitting on the couch. I'm looking over there because there's a couch, right? But you got somebody sitting on the couch staring at you while you're doing 16, 18 hours worth of work. And then when you're done with work, you're like, I'm
too tired to hang out.
Yeah, I'm exhausted, right? And then you had to come to realize that I have to have some sort of small block with her or him or whatever the situation is, right?
I heard the magic number is 13 hours a week.
Is that what it is?
And it works. Like the same guy that loaned me money in the very beginning is like, dude, you got to do 13 hours a week with your spouse. I don't care how you get there. You're going to do some breakfast, a dinner, a walk. You got your weekend. You can do a date night. You can spend 4 or 6 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. We've been near divorce a few times, my wife and I, and thank goodness she's forgiving enough to work through stuff. But it's because of the time you forget. And when I've put my time in and I pay attention to 13 hours a week, like dedicated where she has my attention, my phone's on silent, it works better. It just does. And it's been this as you build. And you can imagine, not only are you building something, but we're up 120-ish people. And then we're in multiple states. And I travel. I've been on the road, 3.5 weeks now. So I fly home, fly back. And so when the time's there, it has to be quality. And if I'm going to be gone too long, I fly her out. I'm like, come meet me here in Miami or fly out to Kentucky or fly wherever, just so we can spend that time. Otherwise, the disconnect and to get back is twice as long for me.
I don't like comparing, well, I guess I do like somewhat comparing different companies to different companies, but I watched when I was younger, I don't have the DVDs anymore, but I watched the Jesse James trilogy. I don't know if you're into bikes, but...
no, but I bought his last car he made on Monster Garage.
Nice.
So I have the insane 54.
Wow,
the
that's
pink
awesome.
54 station or ranch wagon.
Wow.
So that's in my bay.
Nice.
So yes, I do get it.
But he was talking on the documentary. If you watch, I think all three. I think it was maybe the last one, but it was when he got really famous, right? And he was on a bunch of different shows, and I think this is way before Monster Garage, or maybe it was somewhere in between. But he had people lined up to his shop to buy merch. He had online stuff. He had he had to put up gates and stuff. He would go to the bathroom and people were trying to snap pictures through the little porthole and stuff like that. And he was at the bar or something, and he was like, I never would have ever thought this. I mean, this is where he was just like yourself, where he was producing all of his own bike parts. He had, I don't know how many hundreds of people working for him, merch sales, producing product, putting bikes together, doing different stuff. I'm sure he had PR people. I'm sure he had social media. I mean, just the full gambit, right? When you get that big. And he was like, I don't even know how this was really, how this came about. I just building bikes and building stuff. And he was like, and that's all I would, I watched some of his social media, and that's all he talks about is he just wants to, pound metal all day and,
that's his happy place.
Build stuff. Yeah. And I think that's kind of something similar to you, where you just wanted to
build doors.
Yeah. Or even more, you just wanted to do the EMT and firefighter stuff.
Yeah.
And you just
all the way.
And then you're just okay, well, I guess I'll just do this to make some money. And before you know it, you're like, dude, I'm everywhere and people want all this stuff. And I'm having all this. And you realize that moment that you're just man, this is crazy.
It is crazy. It's weird. I don't understand it. I don't know. I just did the Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew show. And I don't know if you used to listen to Love Lines back in the day. It was so weird. I mean, I've known Adam for a little while now, but it was just odd to see myself in the studio with stuff you listened to 30 years ago. I'm like, Who would have thought? I mean, most people don't know who they are. I mean, I shouldn't say that. He's one of the most downloaded podcasts ever. But people that are young, my kids are like, who's Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew? But I'm thinking to myself, how did I ever, what happened? Where was this? And the night before, having dinner with Trip Taylor, one of my favorite producers from Jackass and Nitro Circus, and then going here the next day, I'm like, what? I don't even know where I'm at anymore.
That's crazy.
It's kind of a weird world right now, and I love it in some senses, but ultimately you find yourself to be kind of extrovert, introvert. Like when you're at work, I don't know if you're the same, but you're extroverted, but when you're home, you just kind of want to be introverted and be home. And like, who is calling me? And you get pissed off if someone's dialing you. They don't even know you're home, but you're like, why are you calling me when I'm home, dick? Like, well, they don't know. You know what I mean?
My biggest thing is just people acting weird around me, right? And then, you know, like I have no problem being on camera all the time. Like if it was like TMZ or just popular people or just walking around, like I have no problem doing day in the life all day long. But just the people acting weird is the thing that gets me the most. Like, I tell all kinds of stories, but you know, I've had some celebrities on the show and they tell their stories, but it just gets to the point where, like we're all really just humans.
Just trying to get through it. Yeah. Just trying to keep a smile, trying to make people happy. You know, my excitement isn't from that stuff. My excitement's when I get to see somebody finally open or, you know, kind of get that exposure of that experience that they could envision that we've created. That's my happy place. Like I want to see that. And then when they start sharing it and talking great things, sometimes we make a mistake and they're pissed, but I mean, that breaks my heart. Like that is not ever our intention. Like we missed it. There was some misdescription or something that happens. We'll make it right always, like no matter what. However, those are really disappointing for me, but more, thank goodness, 99 point, I think we're at a 4.99 average star rating. So it's like, we really try. There's some mistakes along the way, but those are my happy. It's not the other stuff that you think it is. It's pretty empty. A lot of them, you see a lot of the celebrities and they're in a lot of empty space, and it's funny to see some of their insecurities and what they just are trying to be normal too. They just do their best to have a good time and relate.
Yeah. Like when I go out, I usually just try to keep to myself. Unless I feel that, you know, extrovert kind of come out of me. And then when I'm at home, I'm usually just working, man. Like I'm
thinking, creating.
But it's I'm on this whole like self-improvement trip. So I'm listening to like a lot of Tony Robbins and Alex Hormozy and a lot of stuff.
Dude,
like
I'm on this Alex kick right now for whatever reason. It has been for like 3 months. And I don't know if you feel this way, but that damn guy is so freaking smart. And I'm like, how is he 15
Alex
years?
Hormozy?
Yes. So I called Damon John the other day. I said, hey, D, you need to line me up with Alex. Like, I need to go meet this guy just for fun. He's one of the few guys I haven't met, like, as far as on the podcast stuff. I was with Bradley last week. He's an amazing dude too. But I'm thinking to myself, man, how is he so smart? And what I think he's brilliant in, it's not that he's done anything different that I've done really in the sense of scale and revenue or whatever, but between my 11 companies, it's fine. But he can make it so simple, and how he defines it down to where my kids can understand it, man, and bless him, because he's been able to, you know, kind of put into spelling exactly what I'm trying to think, but I don't know how to write it down. And this guy, if you guys haven't listened to Alex Hormozy, man, jump on it. And I'm not trying to promote, but for heaven's sakes, that guy can take something that's doctorate level and put it in third grade level where you can understand it and wrap your head around it. Because man, he's helped me a lot over the last little bit, put my ideas on paper, I have to say.
He's helped me a lot too. I watched his interview of Tony Robbins.
I just watched that last weekend.
And
awesome.
Awesome. And Anabolic Alex. And that got me into a whole rabbit hole with Tony Robbins. And I just did this 3-day summit thing.
How was that?
It was good, really good.
Chris, we're the same people. I was up at my ranch listening to that, and I stayed there and got into a rabbit hole and started questioning I went and washed my 4-wheeler listening to it. Then I went up to the farm, and I'm like, and got stuck in this rabbit hole of listening to it. And then I got stuck in my own rabbit hole, questioning my own anabolic Alex kind of thing. Like, I do this same thing.
I wrote so many notes, and I'm still writing notes. Like, I'm going through the day, and then I'm just going to reread it. And then I took a bunch of pictures of what I wrote, and then I'm going to just, like, you know, look at that until it becomes a habit. There's a lot of good stuff. He's been doing it. I think Tony Robbins has been doing it. He said 55 years or something.
That guy's amazing too, huh?
I know that when I was younger, people would talk about Tony Robbins, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, that guy. And it kind of, like, went through one ear and out the other. And then it's one of those deals that I don't want to ruin it for a lot of people, but he talks about like kind of a cycle of life, like Alice in Wonderland,
Mm-hmm.
and then you meet your mentors. And like I felt like I met Alex Hormozy through, Tony Robbins, and now like I got some mentors and stuff to kind of go through life. And if you're struggling with something, and it's not like a pitch for anything for either one, but I think if you're struggling for something and looking for something, whether it be sales or your own personal health and development, like I definitely recommend turning into watching some of that stuff because it's just wild. I mean,
it is wild.
Alex Hormozy, like he'll have a stack of papers and he'll just start talking, and it'll be like, and he doesn't talk to you like, I don't know, like we're just hanging out kind of deal. He's talking to you like a coach.
Yeah, he's intent. It's intent.
Yeah,
directly
he's like,
driven.
okay, this is how we do sales. Bam. That's step one.
And drawn with stick figures and lines.
Yeah.
Like, how the frick did he just do that?
And he's like, pages of pages. And he's like, okay, next thing. Right.
I like his new thing where he's scrolling the whole sheet across a table, and it's just this endless sheet of the world. I'm like, golly.
The last one I saw, he just has papers, like just
folding over
paper, and he'll just unstack it and just start drawing. And he's talked about the same thing over and over again, probably a million times, but he'll just draw it out right in front of you.
And it well deserved. $100 million in 3 days in sales on that last one.
Wild.
Money Models, that book. 109 million in 3 days. Guinness Book of World Records for nonfiction.
Did you see him smile on the on that podcast with Tony Robbins
when he called him out?
Yeah,
he was like, "Yeah, you're right."
And he
I like antibiotics.
He looked at his wife. Yeah, and he started smiling.
I love it. Yeah. Business is hard. It is hard, but honestly, some of us find joy in the hard. And honestly, I think for me, it's never about money for me. Like we were very, very happy as a family with nothing. Like smaller walls. We still have the same RV. By the way, I still live in the exact same house. We've got hundreds and thousands of square feet of almost 1 million square feet of commercial real estate at this point. But it's like, I just love our little house. I love our little walls. I love close shoulders. I don't need it. It's not about what you have. I think ultimately it's the goal of what you're trying to accomplish. You're setting really, really big goals, benchmarking those ways along the way to get to the goal and making sure that I'm heading in the right direction at least. And it's the achievement of being able to accomplish hard things without, I never compare myself to anybody else. I compare myself of, was I as productive as I wanted to be compared to yesterday? Did I do anything better than I did yesterday? And if I didn't do better, how can I make sure that I don't fall back every day and progress a little bit towards my objectives?
I'm the same way, like that 1%, getting better every single day.
It's hard.
It is.
It is hard because you find yourself wanting sometimes just to lay down on the floor and take a nap.
Or like freak out or, go through any of the emotions.
Do you feel like freaking out sometimes at work? You get stressed out enough to do that?
I wouldn't say freak out, but you get to the point where you're just like, all right, like, let me go get a coffee.
Yeah.
And like, this is like too intense, or like, why is this person acting like, and through all the therapy and different stuff, like I have to take myself out of my shoes and put myself in their shoes and try to figure out
the lens game,
right?
Swapping each other's lenses
and be like, okay, well, we help a lot of families, right? Like relocate to the area and stuff. So I totally get it. If you want to stress out about something, very small, it may not be that particular. I'm sure you go through it every single day.
I do. Yeah, sure.
And, it might not be that small hinge. It may be a bigger picture that they're stressing out because they need this thing at a certain time, or there's significant others giving them a bunch of stress about something. And before you know it, they're stressed out at you. And then, you're trying to keep your emotions in check. And
it's tough.
Yeah.
What's hard is sometimes we look at other people when they're freaking out about their thing, whatever that thing is. Like, dude, why are you losing it over that? That is so small. But the hardest thing we've ever been through is the hardest thing we can understand.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just haven't, especially where we've been around the block a little bit and we've had a lot of hard things, because you do hard things and you put yourself out there, and big risks equal difficult challenges equals difficult gains. Like you see these big buff people. I feel that way sometimes in business. I mean, shoot, I've been bankrupt twice, right? It's not like
I know the feeling.
It's fine. And I have I've lived in my car for a year. I've been suicidal. I tried to kill myself twice. I've been bankrupt 2 times. I mean, none of that is embarrassing to me at this stage in my life. I'm thankful for the lessons that it put me through, and I'm grateful for that. But also it's made it so I've had some really, really hard things. So now when I have to be careful not to judge when people freak out about, oh my gosh, my brand new white Nikes got brown on them and they're losing it. I'm like, oh, wow. That's obviously the hardest thing they've ever been through. Right. And they just can't relate. So I try to recognize that we can sometimes look at people like they're weak, but ultimately they just never had something really, really hard they had to get through.
I think, we have an audience of small business owners, entrepreneurs, and everything you talked about is exactly stuff that I've gone through, suicidal thoughts, living in excess, been broke multiple times, been declared bankruptcy at least once, should have declared bankruptcy probably 2 or 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, relationships ruined,
Friends disappear when you have no money.
Yep.
That's weird, right? Like, where are those guys?
Or when you stop abusing different substances,
Sure,
they disappear. I've just, seen a lot of different stuff, having to get a job, swallowing your pride.
Did that bother you when you had to go to work for somebody else and you find yourself at McDonald's or Hardee's or any of those places?
I didn't go that low. I've applied to different places and
Sure.
they see my resume and they'll be like,
dude, you can't work here.
they'd be like, wait a minute, is this a joke? Like, you want to work at a warehouse like for 10 hours for like $15 an hour?
Yeah.
And like you sell $1 million homes? And
Right.
I'd be like, well, like it's, this or that, or it'd be, anything like, but yeah, it would be tough because you go there and you're like, this is some BS.
Yeah.
Like when I got my job, I talk about it a lot, but like when I got my last corporate job, like I walked in and, I was broke. And back then I thought like $30,000 was being broke, and like
Sure.
now I just kind of laugh at it. Right. But like I thought I was broke, and then I was there working, and it was like Excel spreadsheets, and the only way I got the job was pitching me to the hiring manager and get the job, and then I totally BS'd him on knowing Excel. I didn't know that much Excel, right?
Sure.
So this is before ChatGPT.
But you're like, I can figure it out.
I can figure it out. So I figured it out just enough for me to be productive and like
and keep your paycheck.
Yeah, get my paycheck. But yeah, like there was days where I would walk in and I'd just be like, man, this is BS, and I'd be like, dude, I just want to put a gun to my head and like kill myself. I never did, but yeah, like I think a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners go through a lot of the stuff that
the
we talk
spiral
about.
of doom.
Yeah.
They just think they can't see. We get sometimes, when you start your business, you have this endless vision of like, this is going to be forever and it's this forever blue sky. And then the reality comes that the blue sky is there still. However, they don't realize that, on Excel, everybody gets rich on Excel. You just add a 0 on the right side of the column and you get rich. But, and it seems super fast because we did it on Excel in like 13 seconds. Next thing you know, I'm a billionaire. I should have just done it that way. But in reality, the zeros end up on the left side of the dot for whatever reason most of the time. And we don't realize that the path, even when you look at any type of spreadsheet, you always see these hips and, these peaks and valleys. It doesn't matter. You look at year over year or whatever, and you see these peaks and valleys, but we don't realize that when you're writing those peaks and valleys, that's truly you as the business owner writing your graph. And we get down in the bottom, we're like, holy crap, I just can't climb this stupid hill again. I'm done. I don't see daylight. This is never as good as I thought. Even though we don't look back and say, hey, when we realized, we made 30,000 our first year, and now it's several times bigger than that. And we don't give ourselves credit for where we've gone, what we've gone through to get there, and that the benefit and the gain that we get from the efforts and the stress, it will pay off. It's just patience. And it's always, my buddy likes to say it takes twice as long and costs twice as much, but I like to argue with him like it's more like 4 times as long and 4 times as much. Everything that we try to do, especially with inflation, right? That's what I say. But it's hard. But you know what? It is worth it if you have the ability to do it and you're okay with the rise and fall of your checkbook account. As long as you're disassociated from your self-worth to your net worth, those two can't be related ever, or you're going to find yourself befumbled every other Thursday, right? When payday's due on the following day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's also like the ability to not only give up, which I use a lot, but and never quit, which I think a lot of people use a lot too. Is just the ability to get back in the weeds, if that makes sense. So you go from being really high on this jet and everything is great to being on the ground again and living in your car, let's say, or, not living in your car, but living super humbly on credit cards until that next deal comes along and you can pay your rent and pay your car and all your other bills, and you're just kind of like skating by. And the reason why I'm able to do that is that I just really believe in myself, because what I did before and I helped all those families, there's nothing different than what's going on now, right? I mean, I'm still helping families. It may not be at the same scale,
right?
Because they're not buying as much, but it's the same skill set.
Sure,
nothing's changed,
and we don't give ourselves that credit,
right?
And we need to remember we need to be nice to ourselves. Like even when you're living in your car, there's some beautiful things in it, right? If you allow the opportunity to let yourself check back and say, hey, what were the great things that I did that gave me the opportunities and the experiences that I had? And then where was the left turns that I took that I shouldn't have, or where was the mistakes that I made? And we inventory those the right way. But I think the beautiful part comes from when we finally forgive ourselves for those mistakes, and remembering like, hey, the only way I made those mistakes and got where I was is because I at least tried. And that's you think about 99% of the people out there don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. Alex Hormozy was using those numbers like after, only 5% of all companies break $1 million. And only 0.04% of the companies make 10 million or greater. And then you think about how many times you've built 8-figure businesses. Well, I've done 5. Well, that puts you at like 0.002. So it's like, why is it that I feel like I have more stress than everyone else? Or why do I feel hard on myself? Well, I'm like, you're putting yourself out there to the point where very, very few people in the United States or the world put themselves to. So you're going to feel more pressure, more stress.
I think one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins recently was, and this is a phrase, where life isn't doing it to you, it's doing it for you.
And I love that. It's true. But you just have to be able to see it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And let yourself say, hey, this is for you, not to you. It's a benefit. And I think that's one thing I've gotten good at, and maybe it was the 2 bankruptcies, is I had to learn how to make a rearview mirror the size of a dime and my windshield as big as I can possibly make it. I use rearview. I can forgive really quick, and I don't think about yesterday. I guess that's why I don't remember a lot of people's names very well. I'm like, yeah, sure, that was, they told me that it was a minute ago. I forgot it already. But I just think, the ability to have a always blue sky forward look, and then being nice to yourself and forgiving yourself for doing. And I don't say if you're making huge mistakes and doing it on purpose, it's different than just saying, hey, man, I tried and it didn't work, but just pivoting really quickly and say, what lesson did I learn? And am I pointed in the right direction still? Am I doing the right things? And am I trying to do this for myself? Is it money driven or is it not? And I can truly say, I don't care if there was money involved. I like the challenge all the way through. Fortunately, you do the right thing and a good challenge and people appreciate it. It pays as well,
I know the biggest thing that I learned from that interview with Alex Hormozy was suffering, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners, like, they get into a suffering mindset, which is, well, I'm suffering because I have to live in my car, or I'm suffering because I have to downsize and live in an apartment, or I'm suffering because this is BS, or I'm suffering because of that.
It's a pity party.
And it's before you know it, like, you're just, in a spiral of suffering. And then you're like, if you don't have the willpower, you end up going and doing things that you probably shouldn't do. When
you were at your peak, do you feel like at times the muscle bodybuilders that get so addicted? I'm just thinking of Alex Hormozy. They go every day and their pain is in breaking down their muscles to get bigger and bigger. And they get so addicted to that's what they live for. I feel you can do the same thing for work. And I find myself in that same thing. It's like the pain of that pressure and stress that you're always trying to find bigger and harder and tougher challenges. And why? Like, ultimately, most people think you're doing it so you have a bigger paycheck. But ultimately, I think it's because you're just trying to build and develop. And I feel like that kind of gym addiction to work a little bit.
I think it's the shiny object thing, where you just get addicted to the shiny object.
Do you mean shiny object as far as like a new car, or do you mean as the goal is the shiny object?
No, like you were like, oh, okay, well, like you do doors. I'm going to do doors too, because that sounds like a really fun thing.
Yeah, I see.
And then before you know it, I'm chasing doors and not paying attention to real estate or this or that or that. And then before you know it, I have 20 businesses. I'm doing 20 different things, and I'm doing...
No focus.
Yeah, and then before you know it, like, I'm an owner-operator of 20 businesses that have...
No one doing good.
Yeah.
So what's funny is last Monday, not this Monday, but last Monday's meeting. I guess it was this Monday. Oh my gosh, it's Thursday, isn't it?
Right.
So I had a meeting. I said, okay, I am so sorry, everybody. Like, I have this director's meeting. There's 20 people in this conference table. And I'm like, I am so sick and tired of giving you guys this shotgun approach. Because there's this old methodology, and I don't know where I heard it, but it was like the 7-penny game, where you have 7 pennies across the table and you got to move them 7 steps. So if you push 1 penny consistently, you'll get all 7 pennies done in 1/3 the time, as if you're going 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, right? Having to move them 7 times. You'll never get done. But if you think about it in a work perspective, you're having to disengage from the last project, re-engage this project, get your mind running. You know how it takes a second to rev up to where you're moving. And then all of a sudden now you can start moving the penny. Well, as soon as that happens, then all of a sudden you have to pivot to project 2, and you're never really moving them a full position. But if you focused your team on one project at a time as good as you possibly can, and I'm terrible at that, just so you know. I'm like, and this, just like you said, and this, and this, and this, and I bought this hotel, and I bought this, and here, I need you to do this. By the way, call on the plane. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
They're not even knowing what they're supposed to do anymore. So I hired an executive assistant, never had one ever until 2 weeks ago. I'm like, okay, I need you to help me make sure I don't shotgun everybody. I want laser focus, start to finish. They don't get a new project issued to them until this one's completed. And what I found was, it used to take us about a week to take a project from concept to to sell, right? A week, because we have everybody focusing on it. Well, what I noticed is I'm like, hey, I want this nightstand that does X, Y, and Z, and I want this armoire that does this, and I want this TV stand that does all these different projects, but they look like this. Okay, great. Well, it was a 180-day average to get through.
Wow.
From R&D to engineering, get all the stuff done, and then it goes into design. Then it goes. I'm like, why is it taking freaking 6 months to get anything out of this stupid place? This is so dumb. I have these ideas. I want to see them on Friday. And they're like, dude, did you see how many projects we have? And they unloaded this folder of all the different things that you come in on Monday. And you're like, oh, dude, you got to see what I've done. Put that down as number 1. That's number 1. Well, what happened to last week's number 1? Well, that one's 2. You're right. Well, what about the one that was number 1 the week before? I'm like, well, that's now 3. So they can't push the needle. And so I just apologized. I said, Leroy, your only job is to help me maintain my team to stick with one thing until it gets done. Because now, as we've scaled, it's like we're not getting anything done that's not outside customers, like where we need to stay proactive and thinking about what's coming around the corner, making sure that there's something greater than what we're currently doing that we get to show some people next year. Like, whoa, I thought they did all the cool things. The thing that scares me the most is all of a sudden you go from 1 billion views to none because nobody really cares about your yesterday's store anymore. So you got to have something that's always coming out the gate that's even better than the last.
Jeremy, if somebody wanted to find you, maybe talk to you more about your story or order some doors wherever they find you.
All right. Heck yeah. You go to, I thank you very much for letting me do this, but it's murphydoor.com. If you're looking for hidden doors or hidden rooms, or you need some room for creativity, we've got everybody you want for that. You can find me on Instagram at Jeremy Barker or jbarker482, LinkedIn at Jeremy G. Barker. And I really appreciate you having me out, and it's fun talking to you.
Thanks, Jeremy. We could talk forever, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been awesome.
Awesome.